This is our annual opportunity to celebrate the hard work and successes of all our members who've gained their accreditation this year, and to shine a light on some of those who've excelled in their efforts to reduce resource use, cut carbon, protect the natural environment, support their wider communities, and encourage their networks and supply chains to do the same. If I just quickly run through today's agenda, I'll shortly introduce our two inspiring keynote speakers, and there will be a short Q&A session after their talks. So please do put questions into the chat and I'll read them out at the right time. That will be followed by a short review of the past year from an iiE perspective before we announce our award winners. We are recording this and we will circulate the recording with the slides after the event. So our theme today is the awesome Anthropocene, with a focus on how businesses and people are adapting systems and combining efforts to solve many of the issues faced by our global community, to restrict climate change to manageable levels, and to reverse the decline of nature. Our first speaker is Lucy Shea, CEO of Futerra. We agreed that she would tell you about herself and Futerra, but one thing I'd like to highlight is that Lucy is the person who reimagined garment recycling in the creation of swishing, something which many iiE members have organised as one of their environmental projects. So thank you for that, Lucy, and I'll now hand over to you to tell us more.
Thanks, Camilla, and thanks for the intro. And I didn't realise swishing was so popular within the organisation, so that is fantastic to hear. And really a great intro into the type of thing that I'm going to talk about today. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. It is such a delight and honour to be here. And I've even dressed up with my kind of like award ceremony outfit. So, you know, really trying to take part wholeheartedly in this. I'm Lucy Shea, I'm the CEO of Futerra, and I love that the whole theme of this is the awesome Anthropocene. That's actually our mission at Futerra, to make the Anthropocene awesome, to make the recent age of humans a positive thing, and not always, you know, pitched as a negative thing. So some of the things I'm going to talk to you about today is a little bit of, you know, inspiration on my own story and how I find myself working in this space, but majorly on, in a short period of time, how we can get folks to join with us in pursuit of our awesome Anthropocene goals, or our sustainability, business and environment goals. So I'll cover Futerra very briefly, and then skip into some insights that we've had from our recent work. So if we go to the next slide, you'll see some of our Futerrans there. And we are a change agency. So we're a strategic consultancy, and we do solutions and storytelling in the pursuit of sustainability. We, as I say, primarily work as a strategic consultancy. We also have an academy training arm. We have a newly minted non-profit, which really leans into culture and climate and how we can pull the levers of culture in order to solve the climate crisis. And we, on occasion, go into partnership with our clients to make products. So insect-based cat food, Lovebug, for example. If we go on to the next slide, you'll see that we have, what makes us different is we are focused on our operations. They are important, but they are a small fraction of where our material impact lies. Our material impact lies in the advice that we give our partners and clients. So in recognition of that we only provide advice on sustainability and climate change, or climate solutions, we have from the UN, we're the only professional services firm to have climate solutions provider status from the UN's Race to Zero initiative. So if we go down again, you can see very briefly we have offices, but we work in partnership all over the world. And on the next slide again, you can see some of the fantastic businesses and brands, non-profits that we're really delighted to call clients and partners. All right, enough about us and on to the topic at hand. So next slide, awesome Anthropocene. If, like me, you might be thinking, but it's not. and how are we going to get there? And every time I turn on the radio, listen to the news, open up my social feeds, it is wall to wall non-action on climate or wall to wall doom and despair. Then I have a slightly different frame for you, and it's that we think of action as being in a very linear fashion. So we planned climate action, you know, with the carbon accounting law, that we're going to halve climate emissions every decade. We planned it in a very linear fashion. Go on to the next slide. If we now factor in the people bit, this is not how social change happens. It kind of would be so much better if it didn't, but there's this thing called punctuated equilibrium. And what that means is we stick at what we know and what we're doing and the economic structures that we have, or societal structures, until it almost becomes too painful not to stick with them anymore. So what I've got is a ton of graphs. You can't really read them, I'm sure, on a small screen, but a ton of graphs showing this hockey stick effect that we get across change, technological change, social change. So on the top left, it's tracking the pace of social change with things like equal marriage. On the bottom left, it's adoption of different tech, like even microwave power. On the top right, oh, the picture's coming to do the recycling. Hang on. On the top right, I mentioned that for operational. On the top right, it's global solar energy. More on that in a moment. And then bottom right, it's Google searches. And again, massive hockey stick graphs for everything, from searches to upcycling to circular to the whole lot. So if we go on to the next slide, if we thought that, you know, climate action was going to be linear, it's really not. It's going to be a hockey stick. And actually, what you can see coming out now from lead authors of IPCC is a growing kind of cautious optimism that we might actually just do this. That the conversation now is not just about the ever-ending transition out of fossil fuels, but actually the phase down. So next slide, we're here. And on again, I just want to put, just to bolster that argument there, the hockey sticks. This is the this is not from us, this is from Systemic, I think. This is the exponential growth that's underway for renewable technologies. And again, you can see that exponential growth in wind generation, solar, EV, and your battery cells. So all business adopting green tech and climate busting tech. And final slide in this section, it really is, as my colleague Solly, who's written a book called The Solutionist, says, hope is a business plan. That there's this enormous, exponentially growing market for green and environmental business out there, or business that can provide us with climate solutions, from energy to building, transport, products, etc. 4.5 trillion a year is the current estimate. Okay, so next bit, if that's the kind of the market and the opportunity is there, the plan is underway. We still face, I don't know if I'd call it an uphill battle, but we still face the need to bring people along this journey with us, to get many more businesses adopting climate solutions as part of their business model and get people to buy it, basically. So how do we get there? So if we go on to the next slide, this is a picture. So this is a bit about me. This is a picture of me with my Irish family. My dad is one of 15, which is just kind of crazy. I've got 34 first cousins. And this is me on a family. That's my dad in the middle with the blue shirt and the black tie, or the navy tie, and that's me to his left, to the right as you're looking at the picture, a few years ago. And I put this picture up there because this was one of I had many moments when I was younger of trying to stop smoking, and I did everything from hypnosis to tapping to the NHS cessation. You know, I tried all the different willpower things, and actually what finally did it for me was a few things. So if we go on to the next slide, there was a publication that we put together at the time. It was back around 2003, and at Futerra, we're working on the first national climate change communication strategy. And as part of that, we reviewed every single bit of evidence base out there on how you get people to change attitudes and behaviours around pro-social environmental behaviour. And what I realised is that after coming back from Ireland, I'd quit smoking. And I'd realised that a few things had been going on, that my colleagues at Futerra, who are all pretty well genned up on this report and the kind of advice we were given, had started saying things to me like, oh, now that you've met your then boyfriend Aldo, do you think you're going to stop smoking? Or you just don't seem like a smoker to me. Or have you noticed that other people in Futerra are no longer smoking? And then the Ireland trip was a big turning point for me, because I could see half of my aunties smoked, half of them didn't. The difference in health, skin, etc. was extreme. So if you go down to the next slide, what I'd been hit with by my colleagues and that trip to Ireland was transition zones. So meeting a new boyfriend, time of change in life, social proof, look around you, no one else is smoking, symbolic self-completion, you just don't seem like a smoker, and salience, the visible changes in my aunties who did smoke. So those are like big behavioural levers that have been pulled all over around me, and I stopped smoking. So these behavioural cues are really crucial if we're going to actually get there in our fight against climate change. Now, I am going to massively speed up, or I'm going to eat into Sasha's time. So I'm just going to say, if that sets the scene, we can definitely get there. We need to bring a really good behavioural approach to how we persuade people to come on board with us. I'll just spend a moment, I'll go through quite quickly on some of the things that we can do. So that's just a bit more of a proof points around people are looking for this. This is the growth in searches on sustainable lifestyles, how to live a sustainable lifestyles. The big thing I want to bring to you is that we always talk about this values gap, values action gap, values intention gap, and why don't people buy what we're putting forward? And the thing I'd love to bring to you is it's not a gap, it's a set of barriers. So if you go down to the next slide and the next slide again, we've actually got this huge set of barriers, next slide again, standing between us and being able to get people to buy and do pro-social and environmental. And if you go down to the next slide, some of the work that we've done recently has been helping to uncover some of these barriers. So you're probably familiar with cost and convenience, but there are so many out there. So from price to availability, awareness, habits, preference, shame, these are all the types of things that we are going against when we're trying to get people to adopt pro-social or environmental behaviour. It's not like, you know, using a different brand of soap. It's more like trying to get people to use soap for the very first time. And so that's one of my two insights to bring you. Think about the barriers that are in the way of your audiences and taking up these new behaviours. And then the second thing I'd love to bring to you, if you go on to the next slide, is its benefits that can really smash through these barriers. So next slide again, building that point. And if you go to the next slide again, there's three that we use all the time at Futerra. And these are, there's a publication on our website called Selling Sustainability, which breaks this down. It's freely available. I do encourage you to download it. And classic marketing says that there are three types of benefits: functional, emotional, and social. And think about these three different benefits when you're trying to smash through the barriers. So in brief, functional, if you go down to the next slide, are things like value for money, performance, ease, quality, safety. You know, what is the functional benefit that your offer or brand or product can bring? And on the next slide, you can just see a piece of work that we did, or a piece of work that we did for Econil, which they then took onto their Prada campaign. For Econil, it's a yarn, it's a fabric, but basically it's got this functional benefit that it is endlessly recyclable because of its product attributes. So we built into all of the messaging this product functional benefit that Econil can just go round and round, more than PET, in infinite possibilities. So appealing very much to a fashion and archaeological, not archaeological, architect audience. So that's functional. If you go on to the next slide, the second lot is emotional benefits. If you go down again, These are things like feelings of self-worth or happiness or personal. You can do it through personalization, comfort, excitement, sensory pleasure. So thinking about how you can make people like enjoy the experience of actually buying your product, brand, service. So on to the next slide. This is some of the work that we've done with Formula One. When we worked with Formula One to take them net zero, it was about keeping that sensory experience of the cars racing around the track. So not going E, but being able to massively decarbonize the whole entourage and the engines themselves. And then thirdly, with social benefits, this is very much around how we interact with other people as people. So can you give a sense of community, belonging, identity, desirability, virtual signaling, family bonding? And then my final slide here is just a grab of a campaign we've run very recently on the Positive Power Plan, engaging a ton of creators and talents around asking everyone to go and undertake a fossil fuel subsidy calculator and be able to share this on their social feeds with everyone. So I'll stop there, otherwise I'm going to into Sasha's time, but just a whistle-stop tour through some of the things you can do to bring people along your plan with you.
Thank you, Lucy. What a brilliant talk, and fascinating to see the growth of the take-up of green technologies, and all power to the hockey sticks. And I think it's so true that we need to really minimise that gap, don't we, between values and actions, get rid of it altogether. And it must become a place of, a case of why you or your business aren't acting with the planet and people in mind. Just a reminder to everyone, if you have a question for Lucy, please type it in the chat and I'll read it out after we've heard from the next speaker, who I will now introduce. So I think we have a perfect example now of how awesome the Anthropocene can be. Again, Sasha, who's Chief Operating Officer and co-founder of Olio, will introduce herself, but I wanted to share something that I've learned about her already, which I'm going to try and put into action, is that she has a clear inbox policy, which means she has no time for procrastination and acts very quickly. Certainly, it's a carbon light approach and has led to her achieving impressive things, about which we will now hear. So I'll hand over to you, Sasha.
Thank you, and Lucy, super interesting presentation, and well done for quitting smoking. I've been there, done that many times over, but currently in the done that category. Hi, everyone. Lovely to meet you. As Camilla said, I'm Sasha, co-founder of Olio. Next slide, please. This is a photo of me with my parents way back when. And I'm sharing this because my upbringing actually sheds a lot of light onto how I've arrived sort of full circle. I would like to think with the values I was raised with as a child with Olio. So I grew up as the eldest of 6 kids in rural America. My parents were really hardcore hippies. Just about every stereotype you can imagine an alternative hippie upbringing might have involved was part of my upbringing. And they were entrepreneurs, but for the bulk of my childhood, we grew up without very much money at all, which meant it was my job to help my mom figure out how to make ends meet. And in practice, that meant lots of side hustles, specifically gathering things that people threw away and taking them home and fixing them up and reselling them. So I have lots of memories. On a Friday evening, we would be behind the plant nursery, and I'd go into the dumpster and I'd dig out all of the broken plants, pass them to my mom, and we'd take them home and repot them. And we had a plant sale on our front porch nearly all year long. And that's just one of the many examples that sort of color my childhood. As a kid, I really didn't like any of this. I thought it was embarrassing and not normal, and I really craved sort of a more sort of, I guess, normal childhood. But it did instill in me at a young age a deep aversion to waste. And you'll certainly see how Olio is a reflection of that. My sort of personal, next slide, please. My personal response to that was to go as far away from my parents as I could. And I ended up pursuing a very risk-averse corporate career. I studied economics. I worked in New York at Morgan Stanley as an investment banker, and then I went to McKinsey as a management consultant, and I just kept pursuing this very traditional risk-averse career in search of financial and professional stability. But what happened is when I became a mom, I had a very cliched sort of aha moment where I realized I was going to be spending a lot of money to pay someone else to look after my kid, to go to a job I wasn't passionate about and I didn't really believe in. And I decided to put my head together with Tessa, who's my best friend and also my co-founder, and I'd met at business school 20 years ago. She'd also just become a new mom. And we decided to pool our skills and experience and to start actively looking for an environmental challenge that we could tackle at scale. And it was, next slide, please. We were, it would be fair to say that we were totally horrified when we discovered just how much food goes to waste. Tessa's a farmer's daughter, and similar to me, she grew up in a household where nothing went to waste if it could be avoided. And she had similarly decided she didn't want to be a farmer's wife or daughter, and had sort of gone away and had a similar career, I guess, a career trajectory as I had. And we found ourselves with sort of opposite backgrounds, but very aligned. And we would never dream of wasting food. So when we learned that, 40% of all the food we produce globally is never eaten, it was really a big shock for us. And then next slide, please. We really didn't understand, and we realize actually still today, most people don't understand just how horrible that is for the environment. The food supply chain is very long. Globally, food production accounts for about a third of all carbon emissions. And then when a third of that goes to waste, you wind up with more than 10% of carbon emissions directly related to food that we don't eat. And Project Drawdown, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with, repeatedly ranks mitigating or reducing food waste as the #1 thing we could collectively do and as individuals to mitigate the climate emergency. But next slide, please. But to add insult to injury, we have nearly 1 billion people going to bed hungry every single day, and that's not just a problem outside, in the quote unquote developing world. Here in the UK, 13.7 million people live in food poverty, and 4 million of them are children, which is double year on year. And actually, I updated this slide not too long ago, and I hadn't updated it in several years. And I actually had to move the figure from 8 million to 14 million to reflect what the cost of living crisis has done in terms of putting so many families who are quite literally living in the breadline, pushing them into food poverty, which means they're skipping meals on a daily basis. Next slide. So our idea was to take all of this surplus food that is in our society, and by the way, 70% of surplus food takes place in our homes, and that's what happens when 25% of our weekly grocery shop times 27 million households, 3/4 of which is edible when it's thrown away or let go to waste. And what I'm trying to say is, like, all of those sort of spare bananas, 2 slices of pizza, half a bottle of milk you don't get around to eating, bag of lettuce that you don't eat because you decide to get takeout. Collectively, that all adds up to nearly 3/4 of the problem. And so, cut a long story short, we've got more than enough food to feed everyone multiple times over. It's just a matter of getting the food from where it is surplus to those who either need it or want it for whatever reason. And so the idea for a sharing app that easily let neighbors connect directly with each other to give away any food that they weren't going to eat is the genesis of Olio, and also pretty much at the core of what we do today. It's really simple. Anyone who has food that they don't want, they just take a picture, add a brief description, and then click upload, and then it will alert neighbors nearby that Sasha's got some tomatoes or leftovers or whatever it is. These are actually screenshots from back 2015. And if anyone's seen the app recently, you'll see it hasn't changed that much. Next slide. But when we started, we had the very, sort of chicken and egg problem of we couldn't just build an app and expect it to work, right? We need individuals to sign up to the app, to live in close proximity to each other, to facilitate the sharing that needs to happen in real life, often for perishable food. So it has to happen within, within a defined time period, which meant we needed to get a dense enough network of users. So for the first several months, we stood on the street corner in North London. This is up the hill from where I live, basically harassing passerbys, handing out flyers and handing out food that we'd picked up from local greengrocers and other stores that was about to be chucked out. And when we started, we had 2,200 people who had signed up to be pre-registered to know about Olio when we launched the app. And from that, we had also identified 40 or 50 volunteers, because every time someone gave us their name and number, if they were really enthusiastic, we asked them on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you? And if they said 10, we asked them to become a volunteer. And I'll talk more later about how volunteering has been absolutely critical for our growth. So from the very beginning to today, next slide, it's been 8 years, lots of ups and downs, obviously, but we now facilitate the in real life experience of one neighbor meeting with another neighbor, which we call a doorstep exchange, to give away surplus food and household items between 1 and 1.5 million times a month. And that's the equivalent of over 5 million meals every month and about 1 million household items as well. So we have been able to reach a scale where we are really, obviously there's a very long ways to go, but I don't know if anyone's used Olio, but it just works, and it works extremely well for the sharing of surplus. Next slide. We also have built a really unique and effective solution for businesses, retailers, event organizers, office caterers, football stadiums, etc. Anywhere that's a business establishment that has surplus food that they can't sell or donate to charity, or that if it's hot food, they haven't been able to serve. And that's our Food Waste Heroes program. So it's a business to volunteer. A volunteer is a neighbor who has been food safety trained to volunteer proposition. So that volunteer in the middle, the Food Waste Hero, they once they become registered and trained, they're able to claim an opportunity, which we call a collection, from a business to physically go to that location, pick up the food, and then safely bring that food home and redistribute it on the app to their neighbors for free from their home. We do just under 150,000 collections a month. From 6,000 different businesses. And every time we do a collection, one of our partner businesses who's donated the food pays us a fee in order to cover the cost of recruiting, training, and managing that collection. And we've had to work really closely with our Environmental Health Office and the Food Standards Agency. And as you can imagine, food safety is of really, really of paramount importance to all of our partners who don't want their food to end up sort of being unsafe to eat and being distributed from a volunteer's home in a way that could, compromise their reputation. So we've built a really robust food safety management system to sort of govern the safe collection and redistribution of surplus food from volunteers' homes at scale. And moving on to the next slide. And we've done that all through volunteers. So we have well over 100,000 volunteers. Actually, we have 100,000 volunteers who are just Food Waste Heroes. And those are the individuals I spoke of just on the last slide who are out there in real time collecting food, bringing it to their home, and then giving it away to their neighbors every single day. And the average, this is a really quick process, that the whole thing from collecting from the store, taking it home, adding it to the app, and giving it to your neighbors usually takes less than 90 minutes. And the average time to first pickup is 21 minutes. So there's really high demand for surplus food from people who either need it or simply want it to subsidize their budget. And that's the Food Waste Heroes program. But then in terms of the demand side, which is out there just raising awareness of Olio in general, we have ambassadors, and we call them, well, we've got a whole variety of different volunteering roles, and they're out there doing exactly what Tessa and I did in the beginning. We give them flyers, we give them posters, we give them more or less clipboards with names and numbers and a step-by-step guide for how they can raise awareness in their own community and help to spread the word. And that's how we've grown to 8 million users now globally. And then moving on to the next slide, people often come to Olio either because they're looking for something for free, or they absolutely hate waste and they're already bought into the value proposition of what we're trying to do. But the reason people stay is because of the connections that they make in real life. We have so many people who are struggling from isolation or just not feeling necessarily like they have a real sort of reason to get out of bed. And just the act of connecting with others, the act of giving, the act of preventing something from going to waste, all of those feel-good factors really, we're sort of, Olio helps the people in our community act out a behavior that is as old as time and is behaviors that have been core and key to the survival of our species, which is, it's a really a horrible accident, and one that I hope can be undone, that we've arrived at a time now and for the last 50 years where we've completely normalized wasting precious resources and not looking after each other in a more collective way. And Olio helps us to do that by forming real, true human connections. And then, of course, now that we've built a sharing platform, next slide, where people can give away food, we've totally expanded it, and we are in the middle of continuing to do so in order to make Olio the go-to place to end waste of all kinds. So we believe that consumption needs to be flipped on its head. We need to reinvent consumption. We've got everything more or less that we need within our local communities already. We don't all need an air mattress, and we don't all need a lawnmower and a popcorn maker and this Spider-Man costume for Halloween. So we're trying to facilitate like the en masse sharing of our collective goods so that we can reduce the impact of consumption on the climate crisis. So you can give away non-food, you can now sell any non-food items, and then they automatically will flip to free to a giveaway if they remain unsold. You can lend and borrow household items you don't use frequently. You can make a wanted request. Next slide. And then we also have hundreds of different goals that individuals can sign up to, and we take them through a bit of a process using some of the methodology that Lucy spoke about earlier to get people to sort of commit, et cetera. And we've had over 2 million goals completed by the community, which is really great. There's just more impact that comes out from bringing people together around the theme of sharing more and wasting less. So on the next slide, our impact to date, actually half of our impact has happened in the last 12 months, which is really exciting place to be. But so far, we have saved the carbon emission equivalent of 550 million car miles off the road, which I've forgotten now, I haven't done this in a little while, is, if I remember correctly, going to Mars and back 13 times or something sort of equally long distance, which is why we've got this slide here. And whilst I'm really proud of the impact that we have had, I am hugely aware and on the point of having mild anxiety all the time about just how far we have to go in order to really reduce the collective impact of consumption on the climate. Next slide. That said, I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm an optimist, and I really do believe, I actually really like the slide that Lucy showed with the sort of linear, where we thought we were going, and then the way in which we are going, because I would say that just my perspective is that having sort of been doing this for the last 9 years, I can feel a shift, and it's hard to explain exactly why I can feel a shift, but there's certainly a sense of momentum. So, people are picking up the phone faster. Sales conversations we're moving from pilot to deal closed faster. There's just there's a sense of urgency that is, palpable, whatever, that is tangible, that I can feel. So I'm really excited to think that we can get to a world where nothing of value goes to waste. I know that we have to do that for all of the reasons that I'm sure you guys are all well aware of. We cannot continue to consume as if we have 3 or 4 or 5 planets, like we don't. And the math is broken. And the only thing that's going to change that is the choices that we make about what we buy, what we waste, how we vote. And I'm a real believer in, of course, systems need to change, and we should lobby for that, and we should vote for that, and we should fight for that. But in the meantime, we can't pretend that the individual actions that we don't take don't collectively make a difference. And on the final slide, and I actually really love this quote from Jane Goodall, where she basically says that she likes to picture the whole world as a jigsaw puzzle, and it can be totally terrifying to look at the entire puzzle, when you first dump it out of the box. My son is 11 and he likes to do 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzles, and I have no idea how he does it. But he starts with one piece, and then he starts with the edges, and then he color codes, and before you know it, a week later, it's all done. And hopefully, if we can think about our approach to behavior change, positive climate action, collectively, we can start to see some really transformational change that will give us hope. I hope anyone who hasn't used Olio yet will consider downloading it and having a weekend declutter, especially at this time of the year. There are loads of families who would be more than happy to take your secondhand items and gift them to their loved ones. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sasha. I'm an avid Olio user and I love it. I think it's brilliant and a very clever thing. So thank you for all the hard work you've put in to develop it. Okay, so we're on to question and answers. We have a couple which have come in. First one is for Sasha. Sasha, you talked about food safety, which is obviously key, but Justina is asking about whether you sort of get involved in influencing the general public in being able to ascertain whether food is good to eat or not, or whether you're
yeah, the answer is yes. There's lots of campaigns out there that are put together by WRAP, or there's Food Waste Action Week, which takes place every year, and we're always part of that conversation and supporting and amplifying those messages to our community. But that's a hard thing in some ways to measure. But we always participate, and we do, if you looked at our socials or if you subscribe to our newsletter, we're always letting people know how they can basically get the most of the food that they do have, whether it's by, using the egg, not looking at the date on an egg and then dropping it in water to see if it sinks or floats. I can't remember which one's the safe one. To be honest, I just eat all my eggs unless they smell wrong. But we do share tips and tricks, but I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure how effective it is, if I'm honest, but it is important. I think one of the most important things we could do is to build this stuff into early years curriculum. And that's something that we all can do. We can all support by talking to our MP, et cetera, to say that this is the kind of things that we would support.
I know that some of the supermarkets have changed their policy towards dates on milk, haven't they, or something along those lines. But so slowly, it's maybe going, in the right
it
direction.
is like look, smell, sniff, like these basic skills.
It's quite
are really
obvious,
important.
isn't it? Apparently, someone, Sharon, has told us that if an egg floats, it's off. So so now you know. Okay, Lucy, what are your top 3 tips for those who are not global brands, like most of our members, but who are trying to do their bit?
The thing I would say, in addition to what Sasha's covered and what I've covered in my presentation, is if we're thinking about kind of the communication side of things or bringing folks on board. So let's say that you've got your initiative or your solution or whatever it may be, and actually you need to persuade people to do more of it or buy it or whatever it may be. The biggest tip I'd give, and the things that I've seen people struggle with over the years, is it's really simple. It's remembering everyone's not like you. And oftentimes we design solutions or communications that would speak to us or our friends, basically. And particularly in sustainability, we use this segmentation from Chris Rose and Pat Day from Cultural Dynamics. It's called values modes. I'll drop it in the chat in a moment, and it is beyond useful. It breaks people down not by standard demographics, because if you don't have the biggest budgets, then you can't do that. You can't actually do tons of audience research or figure out, how you tailor your message to, plus 45s or whatever it may be. But what you can do is take a look at this segmentation. As I say, we use it all the time, and it broadly breaks people down to 3 groups. The pioneers, who are like the Greens, who tend to be like folks working in sustainability, very big world thinkers. They'll be aware of COP, global temperature rise, but they're not necessarily aware of what's going on their street. So they might actually be using Olio, for example, because they know it's a sustainability thing against waste, but they wouldn't necessarily have all the motivations around, you know, community cohesion or that type of thing. That's more for our bricks, the settlers, and they tend to be quite security and like sustenance driven. They wouldn't be so into the whole like international scene, but they would probably know that their neighbor might be suffering with, you know, heat exhaustion when it's a hot summer, that type of thing. And they tend to be both the greens and the bricks tend to be very inner directed, so they get their sense of self by kind of what they do. So you can already start to see how you might tailor your messages accordingly. But the biggest segment in any market, including the Scandies, is the golds, the prospectors, as they're called in the segmentation. And they get their sense of self from how others see them. That's not a bad thing. That's just how it works. We are status-driven creatures. And so they're very, the golds tend to be more motivated. So if you can make the golds look good, basically, you're going to have more chance of them doing what you want them to do. So status and success and fashion and actually sentimentality and humor are all very good things for the golds to kind of bring them on board. So and actually, if you give a green message to a gold, they'll either ignore it or it will actively turn them off what you're trying to get them to do. So that, rather than 3 tips, I'd say that is my core one, is tailor your message accordingly. And I'll drop that segmentation in the chat. It's really useful. We use it all the time.
Brilliant. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Right, we've got 2 minutes left, and so I'd like a quick question answer from both of you. If you had magic wands, what would be the 1 or 2 things that it could be UK based or global that you would change or introduce to bring about dramatic change, or the dramatic change needed to get us back to within planetary boundaries? Lucy, you can. Well, actually, Sasha, maybe. Go on, Lucy, go first.
I don't know if it would get us back to planetary boundaries, but I think there's something around extended producer and extended consumer responsibility that is really missing. And we probably have all the information, but we haven't figured out how to present it to people so that they can actually take responsibility for it, or in the event of extended producer responsibility, maybe they don't want to. But I do think that there's actually potentially quite a lot of goodwill amongst individuals, but there's total lack of understanding of the real impact downstream of the decisions that people make with regard to what they buy and they waste. So I'd love to like wave a magic wand and have this clarity, this enlightenment for everyone, so that people can actually follow through on their intentions and their values in a way that doesn't require like real mental gymnastics 1,000 times a day to do the right thing.
Brilliant. Excellent. Lucy?
I mean, probably the biggest thing you can do as an individual is plant-based diet. I am still flexitarian rather than fully plant-based diet. And I'm also going to borrow from Dr. Catherine Hayhoe and say, if the biggest change you can affect is talking about this, talking about climate change to your circle, finding a way to engage other people. And you know, as they say now, climate change is communicating itself. It's the solutions that need our help. So talking to others about the solutions to climate, equitable solutions to climate.
Brilliant. Brilliant. And I think people are very influenced by how they see others act, isn't it? That going back to a point that was made earlier in one of the presentations. Fantastic. Well, look, we've got to let you go. So thank you so much, you two. You've been amazing.
Thank you.
And really, really grateful to you. And as I said before, we will we'll send around the recording and the slide pack for everyone, so you can kind of digest it.
Yeah, congratulations in advance.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Right, what a brilliant platform from which we now launch into celebrating this year's successes of the iiE programme. Now, unfortunately, Anthony Goff, who heads up the iiE programme, is unable to join us today for personal reasons, but I'm delighted that Dave Knight, our Senior Sustainability Consultant, will now take us through a short review of the year. So, Dave, over to you.
Thank you very much, Camilla. And yeah, good afternoon, everybody. All right, so first of all, yeah, thank you very much for everybody who's attending today, and good afternoon. So it's been a very busy year for everyone, and look, I'm sure I'm not alone looking at the calendar and thinking, gosh, it's 2024 in less than 6 weeks, and wondering where the year's actually gone. We've seen the year of uncertainty continue with both international and national changes impacting us all, most notably energy and product costs. We've seen supply chain issues, staff shortages across various sectors, and we've continued to see more climate-related disasters across the globe and even hotter recorded temperatures. And yet what's great to see is that we're all here today to recognize that even in spite of all of this, many organizations are still working hard to address our future challenges. iiE members have signed up to this to demonstrate their commitments through our annual audit process, which is really positive to see. So when we review our year, we've had a change in personnel. So for those who know, April Sotomayor, who was our head of sustainability, is now head of industry sustainability for BAFTA. I would like to thank her for her stewardship of iiE and wish her every success in her role. However, I am now also elated to welcome our new head of sustainability, Anthony Goff, who will continue to drive iiE forward in tackling sustainability agenda. So I'd just like to say welcome to Anthony, and thank you to April. We've continued to grow with over 100 new businesses having joined iiE, and I would like to recognize a significant proportion of this taking place in our Northeast region through the amazing work of Joe Holmes, our franchise lead in the region. We continue to see incredible engagement from the veterinary sector, with growth in a number of veterinary practices, member organizations and suppliers joining the program and achieving their accreditations. This demonstrates an opportunity for any business sector to work with us to replicate this type of success. And if you're interested in a conversation around how we might be able to achieve that, please contact us. We're continuing to work with the Smart Carbon Partner dashboard to help organizations tackle and report on their supply chain carbon footprints, and we're seeing some exciting opportunities on the horizon to support all of our members even further going forwards. We've run a dozen live educational events, from using the iiE framework all the way through to targeting net zero, and a variety of member-to-member engagement sessions with facilitated questions and answers. We've run a number of our iiMA certified courses, having recently became an iiMA certified center. These are around environmental sustainability skills for the workforce aimed at the employees, foundation certificates for environmental management aimed for everybody, and our most popular course, the Pathways to Net Zero course, which is aimed at leaders or those who are looking, or say tasked with looking at net zero for your organization. We've also launched our Green Champion e-learning platform course for all budding Green Champions or staff looking to upskill in the basics of environmental management. And all iiE members have free spaces available, so ensure that you're utilizing yours where possible. We work across sectors and business types, engaging people directly with understanding how they can make an impact and helping them to measure what matters, benchmark and celebrate their progress. We've seen an increase in conversations around net zero, and we're starting to see more scope 3 or supply chain reporting, and we'll be running more webinars and training to support our members through this in 2024. In terms of impact, however, we're measuring what matters, and we are seeing change really start to come through within the data with our members from the 2nd to 3rd year of membership. So just looking back over the last year, we're really pleased to announce that our members have saved over 8,500 tons of carbon equivalent. We've seen a significant reduction in natural gas of 25 million kilowatt hours, which is enough energy to heat almost 2,000 three-bedroom homes. We also look at consumption of paper, and we have seen a saving of 2.2 million sheets of paper, which is equivalent to 224 trees if paper was to be virgin. However, with these members, most of them are already using recycled paper. In the healthcare sector, we've seen a reduction of 173,000 litres of anaesthetics, with a significant reduction in the reduction of nitrous oxide of 126,000 litres. And then when we consider future positive changes, we have seen 1,699,000 kilowatt hours of solar electricity generated, and an increase of over 10,000 miles driven in electric vehicles, obviously removing that away from the carbon producing combustion engines. And while there are still definitely challenges ahead, these are some fantastic numbers to shout about. And so I'd just like to say well done to all of our members for the fantastic work that you've done in helping us to achieve these amazing results and impacts. So looking ahead, what's next for iiE? We don't want to stand still. We want to keep pushing forward. We will be launching our revised silver level learning management system program by the end of the year, which will be helping businesses going from bronze to silver to green by focusing on more continued development through that process. We're also starting to develop our green level platform, which will start to focus on wider sustainability issues for our green level members in terms of key sustainability topics that they need to sort of consider or are looking to do as part of their ambition or objectives. Now, this will all tie into the development of our sustainability focused program. We want to use the structure of the iiE Investors in the Environmental Management System Foundation, which we implemented bronze and silver, to develop wider sustainability initiatives, all specific to the organization's needs and ambitions, whether that is net zero, whether there's biodiversity requirements, or even looking at circular economy. We want to base this across 4 aspects of sustainability, leadership and governance, to ensure objectives and ambition are led from the front and delivered as a team. Climate change, with particular focus on carbon management and the net zero future. Social, environmental, and natural resources, where we want to consider natural resources we use, staff well-being, equality and inclusion, and also biodiversity aims or requirements. And we want to look at pollution and waste to introduce circular concepts to resource management and pollution prevention where applicable. We are also keen to start delivering in-person events next year as well. And while the virtual world has been a massive support during these last few years and continues to be so moving forward, we also appreciate the benefits of actually working with members directly, with opportunities to come and work together in a shared space. And we'll have more of this in the coming year. Finally, before we move on to the amazing work our members have achieved and the announcement of the winners, I would also like to thank the iiE team, including Jan and Joe, our franchise leads, who have supported not only the scheme, but also all of our members here today. I would also like to thank our members who without we would not be here today. And without your hard work, we would not be able to celebrate these achievements. So thank you so much for coming today. Thank you so much to our team. Thank you so much to our members for all the hard work that's been put into making iiE the success that it is today. And on that, I'll hand over to Camilla.
Thanks, Dave. All right, let me just get back to where. Okay. Before today's award winners are announced, I wanted to mention all those who have achieved their bronze, silver and green accreditation this year. We're proud of the rigorous nature of our assessment process, and we believe that by adopting the iiE programme, businesses make genuine improvements to their environmental performance and focus on the important task of reducing their carbon emissions. We congratulate all of those of you who made it to audit this year. So starting with our bronze level achievers, the huge growth in numbers of organisations joining the programme has been incredible. And despite all that's been thrown at the business sector, we've been delighted to see so many people joining us. This has really contributed to the number of organisations achieving the bronze level this year. So if you move to the next slide, I'm not going to read them all out, but you'll see the amazing number of organisations who've achieved their bronze level. So there was an impressive 47 members who demonstrated that they'd established the foundations of their EMS, started to measure their use of resources and set targets and actions in place to reduce them. Got to grips with their waste management and recycling, measured their carbon footprint, and started to communicate their progress internally, and in many cases externally too. On to the next level. At Silver, we're starting to look at how organisations are starting to embed sustainability across their organisation and develop longer-term plans to improve their environmental performance. So on to the next slide, please. And we have, and these silver level members have built on the foundations established and started to use their data, looking at monitoring their data, starting to help that data inform their decision-making processes. They would have adopted a travel plan and set progress on how they're going to improve their use of sustainable transport, and undertaken at least 2 environmental or social projects. And they will start to edge into looking at their scope 3 emissions in their carbon footprint, and getting a bit more ambitious with and brave with those communications to staff and stakeholders. Then onto the green level, these organisations will be regularly monitoring their resource use, focus on setting and meeting performance targets and demonstrating engagement across their business, and will be starting to work with their supply chains too. So we have 30 green level member achievers, and many of our members have been at this level for several years, so they are really starting to become very, very sustainable in the way that they embed sustainability into the heart of their organisations. So it is great to see, and amazing to see what can be achieved by adopting the iiE programme. So now onto the awards themselves. Just quickly, for those of you who weren't here at the beginning, there is an online brochure which you can download by scanning the QR code that you can see on the slide there. Just while people do, we're aware that many members have achieved amazing things throughout the year that have not been documented in an award entry, as Dave sort of highlighted or alluded to. We try and capture as much as we can, but really encourage you to be sort of quite un-British and show off about what you've been achieving and share it with us. That can be through social media or through case studies, or by sharing it with your with other members through events that we run, or through peer referral. So we know that so much is going on that we don't quite capture. So, okay. So onto the, I just want to quickly say a quick thank you to the judging panel who helped us in judging the awards. Dave, can you move the slide on? We had an amazing range of entries. I think there were over 40 entries this year, which is the largest number we've ever seen. So thank you very much to James Hand, who's co-founder of Geeky, the behaviour change app, Virginia Cinquemani, founder of Green Gorilla Consulting, Bridget Reed, director of Green Arch Consulting, Stuart Dawkes, the chief executive of PECT, iiE's parent company, Danielle Hayward, who's founder of Optimo Business Consulting, and Yana Tweed, who is head of client engagement and education section at CISL, the Cambridge Institute for Sustainability Leadership. They were very kind to give us their time. Next, onto the sponsors. We are very, very grateful to the sponsors and supporters for supporting this year's awards. They were Ecotricity, Elanco, Compare the Market, Hunt & Coombs Solicitors, Green Energy Switch, MWI Animal Health, Redwood Bank, Roy Thorne Solicitors, Cambridge and Counties Bank, and Waterwise. All of them have joined us today to present their particular awards, and I will introduce them as we go through. Which brings me neatly on to the first award, which is for Best Carbon Reduction. This award is sponsored by Green Energy Switch, and I'd now like to introduce Rebecca Huggins, who's Project Support Officer, to announce the winner. So, Rebecca, can you unmute yourself and bring your camera up so we can see you?
Hi everyone.
Brilliant.
So I'm delighted to present this award. Supporting carbon reduction is a key aim of Green Energy Switch. The judges were looking at the entrants' absolute reduction in carbon emissions against previous years and their progress towards halving their emissions since their baseline year, in alignment with the UK's net zero target. Reduction had to be shown in Scope 1 and 2 emissions and in Scope 3 emissions if being measured. Those shortlisted for this category were Andy Thornton, Astree Vets, Budget Paper Supplies, Garston Veterinary Group, and West Northamptonshire Council. And the winner is Garston Veterinary Group. Garston Veterinary Group primarily focused on reducing their use of energy and anaesthetic gases to achieve significant carbon reductions, while also monitoring their fleet and grey fleet emissions. Eliminating the use of nitrous oxide removed over 200 tonnes of carbon dioxide equivalent from their annual footprint, and they have shared their learnings with the sector to encourage others to do the same. Their baseline footprint was 308 tonnes in 2019, and their footprint has more than halved since then, despite the addition of more data sets. The judges also applauded the work of the runners-up, West Northamptonshire Council and furniture supplier Andy Thornton. The judges were pleased to read about how Andy Thornton's investment in upgrading its heating and cooling system, installing LEDs and PIRs, fitting timer switches on gas pipe heaters, and upgrading taps to reduce hot water use has contributed to cutting its carbon footprint by 13% over the past year and 36% against its 2019 baseline.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I know that it's an amazing investment there by Andy Thornton, and it's great to hear about all the different things that that they achieved, and many congratulations to Garston. You know, fantastic effort. Our second award is now for Best Waste Reduction. This is sponsored by Elanco. I'll now hand over to Matthew Edwards, who's Quality Manager for UK and Ireland, who will reveal the winner. Thanks,
Hi, Camilla, and hello, everyone. Elanco are really pleased to be sponsoring the Best Waste Reduction Award, an area of the iiE programme in which all our staff participate. In this category, the judges were looking for evidence of excellent waste reduction, impactful action to minimise the use or waste of plastics, and/or innovative examples of reuse and recycling. Entries could have included the use of circular economy principles and/or product life cycle analysis. Those shortlisted for the award were Northwest Veterinary Specialists and Royal College of Paediatrics and Child Health. And the winner is Northwest Veterinary Specialists. The judges felt that Northwest Veterinary Specialists have developed an impressive strategy and a comprehensive waste management system which have improved segregation and delivered reductions of between 11% and 79% across all but one clinical waste stream. And this had brought about good cost savings too. The judges encouraged the practice to continue to focus on waste avoidance, minimisation, and the use of circular solutions where possible. Congratulations also to the runners-up, the Royal College of Paediatrics and Child Health, who have improved their waste management with the launch of the new bin infrastructure. The judges liked the swap and repair shop initiative, which was enjoyed by staff and saved items from going to waste.
Brilliant. Thank you, Matthew. Brilliant. Next is the award for Best Water Reduction, and this is supported by WaterWise. I'd like to welcome Stephanie Fox, Head of Water Efficiency Engagement, who will announce the winner.
Hi all. So water efficiency can often be overlooked in the race to meet carbon reduction targets. So as the leading independent voice in the UK for using water wisely, we at WaterWise are delighted to support this award, which highlights the importance of using this invaluable resource carefully. Now, in this category, the judges were looking for reductions in water use against the baseline year with evidence of continual improvement, investment in water-saving technology and behaviour change campaigns to support reducing wasted drinking water. So those shortlisted for this award were Treac Cliff Cavan, Perkins Engines and Swiftool Precision Engineering Limited. And the winner is Perkins engines. So Perkins engines have embedded water efficiency into their environmental management protocols, incorporating the systematic monitoring of its use and leak detection, the adjustment of processes to identify opportunities for improvements, the upgrade of taps and flushes, and the installation of rainwater harvesting facilities. Water consumption is reduced by 16% over the past year, when figures were normalised by the increase in engine production. Swiftal Precision Engineering and Treac Cliff Cavern were joint runners-up, and the judges noted the challenge faced by the latter as the tourist attraction, which is off mains with limited water supply. They congratulated Treac Cliff Cavern on developing a strong communications campaign to encourage visitors to use water wisely.
Thank you, Steph, and well done for getting through the tongue twister that is Treac Cliff Cavern. Yes, great work by all of those who in that award. Well done. So on to our next award, which is Sustainable Transport Champion. This is sponsored by NWI Animal Health, and I'm delighted to introduce Emma Hunt, Managing Director, to present the award.
Thank you, Camilla, and hello everyone. We're honoured to be able to support and ultimately sort of announce the winners for the Sustainable Transport Champion today. So reducing single occupancy car use and transport related emissions is a challenge for most businesses. It is a difficult but really important area of the iiE members really to get to grips with. So entries into this category were evaluated on the sustainability transport actions or investment made, or the innovation introduced, and ultimately the measures impacted. So those shortlisted for this award were the BVNA, the British Veterinary Nursing Association, Elanco, and Maine Veterinary Clinic. And the winner is Elanco. So well done. So guided by a comprehensive travel policy, Elanco UK developed an investment plan to eliminate internal combustion engines from their fleet by 2030 at the very latest. By January 2023, their fleet included 11 fully electric and 10 plug-in hybrid vehicles. Efficient driving training, an EV salary sacrifice scheme, and management authorisation for international flights have been introduced. Their employees are strongly encouraged to meet online or use a fleet electric vehicle when travel really is required. So by introducing these initiatives, Elanco's fleet mileage is reduced by 51% and their grey fleet mileage by 75% since the 2019 baseline year. To reduce their commuting miles, Elanco have also created a lift sharing map, set up a sustainable travel teams channel, and developed a summer low carbon travel challenge, which aims to create real lasting behavioural challenges across the group. The judges would also like to congratulate the runners-up, Maine Veterinary Clinic, who are applauded for their innovative travel policy, which offers financial rewards for staff that can really show evidence of using active or public transport or a lift share to get to work. And finally, we'd also like to congratulate BVNA for achieving significant mileage reduction and encouraging active travel and car sharing for their annual conference. So congratulations, Elanco, and also for those that are shortlisted. Thank you.
Thanks, Emma. I think the fact that the judges made comments about so many of the runners-up is they found it very, very difficult to make the decisions about these awards, and so the congratulations to the runners-up are very, very genuine, and it was often a very, very close fought contest. So our next award is for the Natural Environment Champion. This is sponsored by Cambridge and Counties Bank. Jamie Lee Marshall, who is, I know, a very keen Green Team member and customer experience assistant at the bank, will now present the award. So thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everybody. Protecting our natural environment, flora and fauna has never been more important. Biodiversity projects not only support this primary aim, but also strengthens team bonds and supports staff well-being. The judges were looking for evidence of action or projects undertaken and a measurement of their impact, such as biodiversity supported, employee participation, partnerships developed, and how often the activity took place. Those shortlisted were Paragon Veterinary Group and West Midlands Referrals. And the winner is Paragon Veterinary Group. The judges were impressed by the breadth of actions taken by Paragon Veterinary Group to support nature enhancement and woodland development. Their garden space has been redeveloped to provide habitats and food sources for a wide range of insects, animals and birds. And the team have been involved laying of paths, providing plants from their own gardens and repurposing items to use as planters. Staff can take a break in the lovely green space, and wider stakeholders, the public, local school children, partnering organisations, patients and their owners have also benefited from or been involved in the space's transformation. West Midlands Referrals were also commended for their actions to enhance their outdoor space and for encouraging their landlords to do more to protect nature when maintaining the grounds.
Excellent. Thank you, Jamie. So now on to the next award. It's the first year that we have included Best Social Impact as an award. It's been sponsored by Redwood Bank, and Graham Reynolds, who's the Director of Sustainability, has joined us to announce the contenders and the winner. So over to you, Graham, if you can. Here he comes.
Hi. Can you see me okay
Thanks.
and hear me okay?
Yeah.
Thank you, Camilla, and good afternoon, everyone. Redwood Bank are really pleased to support investors in the environment through our sponsorship of this award. Judging criteria looked at how an organisation had made a social impact, which could have been demonstrated by support for a particular cause or community, time spent volunteering, financial support, or contribution to human well-being. Those shortlisted were Change Agents UK, Charity Bank, Cross Keys Homes, British Veterinary Association, and the winner is Charity Bank. Last year, Charity Bank provided £53.7 million to 88 charities and social enterprises, supporting disadvantaged individuals in the UK, including vulnerable children, abuse survivors, and people with disabilities, often providing loans which applicants couldn't secure elsewhere, and providing savers with an opportunity to invest their money ethically. The judges liked the bank's partnership with the Key Fund to provide blended finance to incentivise the UK's social sector organisations to reduce their energy footprint and in turn running costs. Runners-up, Change Agents, were commended for hosting a community fridge in their small office, diverting 11 tonnes of food from going to waste last year, for developing accredited sustainability training, and for giving staff time to volunteer at a local allotment where they supported young learners to get their first taste of gardening.
Brilliant. Again, thank you, Graham, and to Redwood Bank for your support, and well done to the winners and the runners-up. Now on to our hotly contested Best Newcomer Award, sponsored by Hunt & Coombs Solicitors. I'd like to introduce one of the partners, Paddy Appleton. Hi, Paddy, to present the award.
Thank you, Camilla. Good afternoon, everyone. Hunt & Coombs is delighted to be associated with this award. The Best Newcomer Award provides an opportunity to highlight those who have achieved excellence in their first year of the iiE programme. Judges were looking for examples of systematic improvements which have led to impact reductions and/or increased staff engagement or investments in resource efficiency with proven results. The award received a large number of entries and the standard was very high. The shortlist can be seen on the screen now. A decision was taken to split the entrants by size and award 3 winners. I'm pleased to announce that the winners are Valet Laurent, winner of the small category. They have embedded a good environmental management system and progress towards targets is regularly reviewed and reported to staff and trustees. Plans to minimise the transport emissions of a touring contemporary dance company are in development. Winner of the medium category, Swift Tool Precision Engineering, impressed the judges with how the team have used the iiE programme to launch its ambitious 6-step sustainability plan. The award entry also demonstrated that the company is communicating its green intentions to staff and suppliers. Lastly, the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development, or CIPD, has made a strong start, cutting its carbon footprint by 15% in its first year with iiE. It has also developed resources which have been accessed by thousands of its members around the world. CIPD used the Smart Carbon Calculator to establish a baseline measurement for its Scope 3 emissions and have started to work with their supply chain to make further reductions in this area. Congratulations to all.
Thank you, Paddy. I think what's coming up time and time again is not only that organisations here are doing their thing to reduce their own environmental impact, but this knowledge sharing is so vital and important and thankfully happening. So it's great to hear. Okay, on to the next one, which is the Sustainability Influencer. And this is sponsored by Ecotricity, whose content manager, Zoe Moulding, has joined us to announce the winner. So over to you, Zoe.
Hi, thanks Camilla, and thanks for a great award show. I've really been enjoying hearing about all the stories and positive initiatives, which hopefully everyone will get involved with. So I will get on to Sustainability Influencer Award. So Ecotricity is pleased to support the iiE Awards and the supporting category in particular. Judges were looking for how an individual or a business influenced colleagues and inspired change within other organisations through projects or successful environmental campaigns. Those organisations which made the shortlist were Roythorn Solicitors, British Veterinary Association, Garston Veterinary Group, and Hull City Council. I'm pleased to announce that the winner is Roythorn Solicitors. Whilst the judges appreciated all those that were shortlisted, what they were doing in their areas, the judges particularly liked how Roythorn Solicitors have worked their way up to achieving iiE's green level accreditation and now use their knowledge and experience to influence and encourage others to focus on sustainability in their work. Roythorn shares good practice with other law firms and is recognised as a leader in their field. Supports its staff to suggest and adopt greener work and lifestyle choices, and engages the wider business community by holding sustainability business breakfasts and works with suppliers to help them improve their environmental performance. Congratulations also to joint runners-up, the British Veterinary Association and Garston Veterinary Group.
Thanks, Zoe.
Thanks.
Well done, Roythorns. I know that was a really difficult category for to judge, as each of those shortlisted are doing sort of such different but impactful work. So great to hear a bit about certainly what Roythorns was up to. That leaves us with two final awards, those for our overall outstanding achievers, split by size into two categories. And we will first turn to the overall outstanding achiever, SME. I'd now like to ask, interestingly, the operations director and green champion from Roythorns, Anne Barrasso, to announce the winner. Have I hope you've stopped, I don't know, crying with pride, Anne, in order to be able to present the award.
Thank you, Camilla. I've got a very smiley face, probably more smiley than it might have been a few minutes ago. So thank you for that, and good afternoon, everybody. The overall Outstanding Achiever Awards bring recognition to the accredited iiE members that continue to significantly reduce their resource use and carbon footprint, demonstrate excellent staff and stakeholder engagement, and deliver meaningful social or environmental projects. Congratulations to all those shortlisted in this category, whose names you can see on the slide: Cross Key Homes, Willows Veterinary Centre and Referral Service, Walters, British Veterinary Association, and Kingstown Works Limited. And the winner is Willows Veterinary Centre and Referral Service. The judges were impressed by the performance of this busy small animal referral centre, which is part of the Linnaeus Group. It has developed a strategy to halve its emissions by 2030 and achieve net zero by 2040. Last year, it demonstrated reductions across all measured resources and cut its carbon footprint by 7%. The procurement and practice teams worked together to switch to a number of reusable surgical products and eliminate the use of some other items altogether. Personalised staff communications have shown to increase engagement, and several national campaigns were supported throughout the year, including World Water Day and Plastic Free July. An outstanding number of additional projects have been carried out, including fundraising events, supporting nature in the hospital grounds, holding regular litter picks, and developing the staff wellbeing room. An internal CPD webinar on sustainable surgical nursing was shared online to a wider audience and was so successful it will be repeated. Congratulations also go to this year's runner-up, Cross Keys Homes, who have retained their green level accreditation for the 8th year and who lead their peers in the upgrading of their social housing stock and continue to create communities to support their residents.
Brilliant, thank you. And obviously it's kind of very evident what a great job the members of the veterinary sector are doing. And you know, if we had the take up in across all sectors that we've seen in the veterinary sector, then the world would be a much greener place, I think, or the UK would be anyway. Our final award is for the large overall outstanding achiever, sponsored by Compare the Market. I'd like to ask Nathan Bland, Facilities Management Contracts and Support Manager, to announce the award.
Thanks, Camilla. I'm delighted to be presenting this award on behalf of Compare the Market. You can see on the screen there the shortlisted entries. Congratulations to all of those who got to this stage. Achieving and retaining the green level accreditation is admirable, particularly in larger and growing organisations where there can often be many moving parts. And the winner is the Institution of Engineering and Technology. Congratulations. The iiE inspires, informs and influences the global engineering community to make a better world. Its 2030 strategy has prioritised tackling sustainability and climate change through its work and is planning some innovative and unique projects to reach its target to achieve net zero by 2030. There is clear direction from the leadership team and a strong emphasis on leading by example. Sorry, excuse me. Significant building upgrades have been undertaken. The complete refurbishment of Michael Faraday House achieved BREEAM Excellent status, and it is an example of what can be achieved when retrofitting a building to significantly improve its energy performance and removal of fossil fuels. Also, improved metering and data management allows the iiE's award-winning conference and meeting venues to provide more accurate carbon data for each event. I'd also like to say congratulations to all the runners-up, Davies veterinary specialists, who continue to raise the bar in terms of sustainability performance in their field of veterinary practice.
Brilliant, thank you, Nathan, and congratulations to all our winners and runners-up from today. That brings us to the end of our awards. A quick note before I go. We will always aim to write up case studies about the good practice that you've heard about today. If any of them, we gave quite a lot of detail so that people can perhaps go away and think, oh, maybe we can do that in my organisation. And if any of that rings true to you, then please do get in touch, and we can put you in touch with the member about whom who won the award. It just remains me to congratulate our winners again and thank our speakers, the judges, the sponsors, all you green champions who do so much, and to the iiE team, particularly Alex and Dave, who've done so much behind the scenes for this event. And to all of you for joining us. We hope to see you in person at some point over the next year. I think we should all go and have a team visit to Michael Faraday House to see what the iiE have been doing there. But we will be organising some in-person events, so look forward to that. And remember, we're all agents of change, so please continue to do what you're doing and be part of the awesome Anthropocene. Good luck to you all, and goodbye.